Do you plan out your live streams? Having a run of show is important because, well, it makes your live streams go a lot smoother. There's a lot of moving pieces oftentimes when you're producing a live show. And so you need to know things like what scenes are coming up, what the layouts are going to look like, what the order of things are, questions, for example, for your guest, all that sort of stuff. And here's the thing, the more you plan, the better you can make your live streams. So I'm going to come on and say a quick hello. This is episode 122 of the Launch Your Live show. My name is Karasiewicz, and you can check out all of our episodes at launchyour.live/podcast. That's where all of our recordings are. We're also broadcasting over on Amazon, actually. So you can also check us out over on Amazon as well. Today, we're going to be talking about, as I mentioned, tips on helping you plan a successful live stream broadcast. And so let me just do this. Let me make sure the Amazon feed is actually working, by the way. You can check all those episodes out as well at launcher.live/EP122. Let me just make sure it's up. It looks like it's running. So basically, you can watch the show multiple ways. So you can watch us over on Amazon. You can watch us on YouTube. You can listen to us at launcher.live/podcast as well. That's also, that's where the audio recording of this is. So you got lots of options here. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about tips to help you plan a successful live stream. And this episode, by the way, we're going to be talking about a lot of products from a particular company called Rocketbook. And I'm going to get to that in a minute, but I'll give you just a quick a sneak peek at what Rocketbook is. And so there's all sorts of Rocketbooks. There's this one. It's basically a notebook. It's got some cool features to it. I've been actually using them for quite a long time, actually. Here's another one. This one I've had for a long time. Sorry for all the noise, by the way. I've just got a stack of notebooks here on my desk and just dropped a few of them on the floor, but not a big deal. The show must go on. They even have these. These are cards. We'll talk about those in a minute. They got smaller planners as well. This is their Panda Planner. This is their Fusion Planner. As you can see, I like their products a lot, by the way. And it's not your normal notebook, but we'll get to that in a minute, by the way. So what I want to do is I want to talk about a couple of things. The first thing I want to talk about is, I want to talk about equipment. And you all hear me talk about this quite a lot, by the way. I'm going to feature some products. I'm going to talk about some of these products here. For example, and I've got these featured over on Amazon, by the way, as well. But, you can have products like the ATEM Mini Pro. You can get things like the Logitech C920. You can buy, for example, I use a Mac, an M1 Mac. You can buy all the best equipment, or you can just buy all the equipment you need to do live streaming. Like I've got Stream Decks, for example. I've got let me show you guys this. I've got this Stream Deck, for example. This is the 32-button Stream Deck, for example. I've got that. I've got a 15-button Stream Deck. Here's the thing. You can have all of this equipment, but if you've not planned out your show, what's the point of having all this fancy equipment? You need to know how it works. You need to know what it's going to actually do, what it's going to actually help you accomplish. Same thing for your microphone. You can buy the most expensive microphones on the market. You can buy, if you're just getting into live streaming, you could go buy the Shure SM7B or the Shure MV7, or even these. This is the Rode Wireless Go, for example. These are the Rode Wireless Go. Like you can go buy all this stuff, right? But the thing is, it all starts with what's your show about? It starts with what are your scenes going to be? For example, I'm not doing a whole lot of scene switching today. And that's just because it's me on camera and that's it. There's no co-host, no one else, it's just me. But it's going to be me here talking just for a bit with you all, kind of talking about some products. And I'll show some of these things in a minute. But so it doesn't matter what equipment you buy. It doesn't matter if you bought the fanciest laptops or the microphones or the cameras or all that stuff. It comes down to the content that you're producing for your audience. So what I want to do is I want to get into, and if you have questions or comments or things like that, and I see some good friends tuning in. I see NLTMW tuning in. Thanks a lot for tuning in, NLTMW. Jaden here as well. Freedom Patriot Network. Yeah. Thanks for joining. And then NLTMW, thanks again for the shout out for Rocketbooks. Yes, absolutely. I love them. I'll show you these in a few minutes here. But again, the whole point of streaming, what's super important with streaming is just making sure that you are producing good quality content, that your show is planned out, that your show like that it does what it needs to do. So, we talk about tips on planning successful live stream broadcasts, and it's not about equipment. That's the thing. Everybody always goes to that point of it's about equipment. Buy the best camera, buy the best microphone. Yes, it's important to have a good microphone because audio is the most important part of your live streams. It's good to have a good quality video camera because depending on what you're doing and you want to show stuff, yes, you want to make sure you have cameras and that kind of stuff set up. But it's not the main focus of your stream. It shouldn't be. It should be all about your show. What is your show going to be? What's the process? So, for example, this show, I have a thumbnail that comes up. I have an intro that I read. The rest of my show, in this case, today's show is mostly just me on camera. But, if I'm doing scene switching to different products, things like that, then yes, it is important to make sure that, you have the right kind of product set up for that sort of thing. So, again, let's get into some of these tips, by the way. And NLT, by the way, if you want to, if you're watching still and you want to share any questions or anything for me, let me know. Let me know, if you have any specific questions or things like that, or you kind of want to help drive things a little bit too. That would be really good, actually. So, so let's talk about, tips for producing your live streams. And so, for anybody who knows me, who's ever watched me on any live streams, I do quite a few live streams. You'll always find that I have a notebook in my hands. Let me get one of these. So, for sake of space, I'm going to actually pull up the smaller notebook that I have. And I'll highlight this, by the way, in the carousel as well. You can check these out. These are amazing notebooks, by the way. So let me get this first one. So again, I'm going to talk about, Rocketbook most of the time for the most part here. And that's because I love these notebooks. And it's not because I don't like paper or anything like that. It's because these are just amazing notebooks at what they do. I mean, they're high quality. Let me make sure I hold that the right way. They're high quality. The other great thing is how many of you have ever ended up with, you end up with like notebooks, and you end up with like stacks of notebooks because you have a notebook for one thing, a notebook for another, and a notebook for another. Great thing about some of this stuff is you only have to have one notebook because the great thing about these notebooks is they are reusable notebooks. You got one notebook, you can scan it. We'll show you how to do that here in a second. And that's basically how they work. So in order to, what I like to do, in terms of planning your live streams, I think the first thing I would do is this. I would actually start with, instead of actually getting a notebook, I would recommend getting, I'd actually recommend two different things. They have something called these Rocketbook beacons. I actually, and they're these little square little corners. So if you ever have a whiteboard or things like that, and you like to draw things out, I'd recommend getting the beacons. I put them in the carousel, by the way. You can check those out. Let me get the link actually for you all in the comments. But the benefit to these beacons that they sell is that they are basically designed so that you put them on your whiteboard and it creates this frame around your content. And the great thing about this is that by having this around your content, what it does then is Rocketbook has an app. So basically you write in their products, you then open their app, and then you use them together to scan what is in the notebook and basically digitize it. That's the bottom line of what you're doing with your show. You're digitizing your whole process. And so let me actually get the link for this so you all can check these out. And you know what? Let me do this. Let me see if I can actually, I'll just get them pulled up. So if you go to, let's see. So if you go to launcher.live /go/ that's it up actually. If you go to launcher.live /go/ cloud cards, let's start there. These are the Rocketbook cloud cards. You can check these out, by the way. These are basically this product here. So this is if you want to if you want to just draw stuff out like on individual cards. They also have the beacon as well. Let me get those for you as well. So they have these things called Rocketbook beacons. Basically what they are is they're these little square corners that go in the corner of your whiteboard. And what you then do is, so you basically put them on the whiteboard. And then what's going to happen once you've done that is you will have the ability to open up their mobile phone app or their desktop app and scan whatever is in or within your whiteboard drawing. And then they will actually then digitize all that. It'll digitize it with the app. So we're going to, if you just go to launcher.live /Rocketbook beacons, I'm going to set that up here just a second. Yeah, so it would be this URL. Let me put that in the chat for everyone here who is watching. Here you go. So if you check out that URL that I just shared, launcher.live/go/rocketbook beacons, that should actually get you to the products, the beacons, for example, so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Basically, what these are going to do, so you put these on your whiteboard. So if I'm thinking about planning content, what I want to do, instead of just writing something out just randomly, like maybe I want to draw it out on a whiteboard first. And the great thing about the beacons is you put them on your whiteboard. You then just draw anything in between it, and then you can open your phone and you can scan it with your app, and you have a picture of it that you can then send to people or email or archive, whatever you want to do. So that way you don't have to draw it once or draw it twice in other places. So you draw it once and then you digitize it with their app. The other cool thing is the beacons have a feature where, let's say you want to flow chart your process. You can actually set up a camera and it will actually capture your drawing as you're actually doing it in stages, basically make almost like an animated GIF. And it's good quality too, because that's one of the problems a lot of times when you try to take a picture of something that you put on a whiteboard. One of the challenges with taking a picture of things on a whiteboard is that certain things are visible, certain things are not. So first item I would recommend checking out are those Rocketbook beacons. Now, what would I use this for in terms of planning out my live stream? So I think the first thing would be, let's get a flow chart of what the live stream is going to look like. And it doesn't have to be complex, by the way. Keep that in mind. Live stream can be simple. It just is visualizing what it needs to look like. For a lot of people, we have it in our mind, but sometimes it's better just to draw it out and then we can digitize it, we can save it, and then we have that process documented so that if we need to then have a virtual assistant or somebody else that we want to take on that process, all we have to do is send them that picture of it. So that's one option you can go with. The other cool thing you can do as well in terms of, helping you plan out your live streams, and I'm going to put this in the chat again. These are those Rocketbook cloud cards. These are the cloud cards. And this actually, personally, this is probably where I would either start with the whiteboard or I would start with the cloud cards. And these are the cloud cards. And basically, this is what you get in the box, by the way. They're basically index cards. But the cool thing that makes them so unique is they're index cards that you can just wipe off when you're finished. So I'm going to unbox these real quick and show you how these work. And so what you get in the box, basically, you get this. You get a box of cloud cards. There's about, I think, 40 of these in a pack. Some of them have lines on one side and there's dots on the other, depending on which side you want to use. You can use both. And then you also get in the box, you get a microfiber cloth and you get a friction pen. And this is and you have to use the right kind of pen, by the way. You can't just use any old pen. They have these Pilot friction pens that come in the box. And basically, they have various thicknesses. This one is, I think, a blue pen. And so here's how this would work. So if I were planning out my live stream, I would, maybe for example, maybe I'm a person that wants to, maybe I document the process on the whiteboard first to make sure it makes sense, because I can always erase that. Then let's say I'm like, hey, maybe I'm like, hey, what are the pieces I need for my live stream? And that's where these are going to come in handy. These are the cards. They look just like note cards, except they got a border on them. And you're going to see on one side here, I'll hold both of these up. So one side has, let's see if you can kind of see that. You can kind of see that a little bit, I guess. There you go. One side has some lines on it. As you can see, you can kind of faintly see these lines. And then the other side has dots. And there's a little code in the bottom corner and all that sort of stuff. And so here's how this would work. So let's say I want to document my process. What I would do with the note cards is this. I would do something like, and again, this is to help you kind of understand things. For example, I'm going to document right now what my initial process is for starting my live streams. So for example, I might make on the card, I might say setup. And so for example, if I'm going to set this up on Amazon Live, I might say set up Amazon Live. Okay. And then there's certain things that I know I need to make sure that I remember every single time when I'm planning out my show. For example, if it's Amazon, I need to make it in 720p. And I need to add, in this case, I'm using StreamYard. I'm going to add the Amazon RTMP destination, for example. I'm going to show you what this looks like. So I've written on this card, I want to set up the Amazon Live 720p, add RTMP destination. So what I'm basically doing in my planning process is, this is card number 1. And I may want to put a number or something on this card. By the way, NLTMW, if you're watching, let me know how we're doing here. Trying to manage this all on my own. It's a lot to manage actually right now. So that might be step number 1. So step number 2, which is actually my live stream, is going to be to go live. And then once I have gone live, I'm going to kind of walk you through what my normal process is. So my process, let me find my mouse cursor real quick. So I've got an iPad connected over here as well, and I'm using a new feature, and it's causing me to lose my cursor. Actually, there we go. Okay, so I got my cursor. So now this would be what my normal live stream might look like. I might do this. I might start. I know that okay, I'm going to hit go live. That's going to be the first thing. I'm going to go live, and I'm going to say something like, I usually wait 20 seconds. Okay. And I do that because I want to make sure that the live stream gets out and it does that. So that's card number 2, right? Go live, wait 20 seconds. Okay. So what's my third step in my process? My third step in this case is going to be I'm going to put up an overlay. So I'm going to say overlay. And then, to help myself out, maybe I'll make some notes. For example, I like to do my overlays at 1920 by 1080p. That's usually the resolution. So I'm going to make that. That's number 3. Okay. Now, number 4 would be, okay, so I'm going to wait 20 seconds. So I'm going to say overlay. I'm going to say wait 20 seconds on that. Hang on one second. So I'm making some notes. I'm saying, hey, I'm going to make that overlay. I'm going to wait 20 seconds, right? And then what I'm going to do in this case, like, let's say I had a video I wanted to play. Okay. So I'm going to say play video. And then what I'm going to do once I've said play video is I'm going to make my other steps. What are the things I need to? I need to remove the overlay. And then I need to add myself. Okay. So there's card number 4. I'm going to play the video. I'm going to remove my overlay, add myself. So as you can see, what I'm doing is basically documenting what my process is. And I'm using these note cards to do all this, right? At this point, I'm going to be, it would be, for example, if it was just one camera, it would just be, me on screen. I'm just going to write that down. Very simple. I'm going to keep myself on screen. And then there you go. And then let's say so let's say we've done all that and we've, let's get to the wrap up of the show. Let's say the end of the show is going to be, so this would be my outro. I'm going to call the card outro. And then what I'm going to do with this is my outro, for example, exists where it's, so I'm going to say my ending. Okay. So I'm going to tell people what my ending is. I'm going to play, in this case, say there's a video I want to play at the end. I'm going to play the video. And then the last thing I might do is the hold screen at the end. And then end broadcast. Okay. So I'm literally just doing all this on the fly. So this is like, let's just say this was my final outro, right? And I'm kind of just hastily making some notes here for you. So basically what I've done is this. I have documented a chunk of my show right here using these cards, right? Kind of cool, right? So basically I've documented all these on these final cards. I put numbers on them. The reason I put numbers on them is so that I can, sequence them. And then what I'm going to do with these cards, not going to do it right now, but what I would do is I would lay these out. I would, maybe I've got a table, I lay out my cards. And then let's say I'm like, what, this part, let's say step 3 needs to be step 4 and vice versa. I'm going to potentially just shuffle my cards around, right? This is going to help me plan out my process so I can see what my process is going to look like visually. And then if you look at this and you're like, hey, my process is like 30 steps, and you're like, I'm the only person broadcasting, that's a lot to do as one broadcaster. So what I might do is I might actually simplify that. By the way, Freedom Patient Network, thanks again for watching. And I'll be back at some point with everything else. At the moment, just kind of, So, but I just want to say that. So thank you. Thank you very much for that, for the kind words. I appreciate it. So basically what I've done is, I've got these cloud cards. These are the Rocketbook cloud cards. They look like this. And I did highlight these, by the way, in the carousel. If you're watching over on Amazon, by the way, I did highlight these, so you can go check those out. I think you can actually go to, let me see if I can set that up. If you go to launcher.live/EP22, let me just make sure that works. Let me just double check this for you all. So basically, if you go to launch.live/EP, I think it's EP 22. That'll get you over to the episode, the Amazon Live episode. So if you go to launcher.live/EP22, or sorry, EP122, sorry, my bad. Launcher.live/EP122. My bad. I was giving you all the wrong information there. Go to launcher.live/EP122. That will get you over to this actual episode where you can watch all the stuff we're doing right now. So basically, so that's how I would plan out like my individual episodes, my scenes, my overlays, all that kind of stuff that's, that's part of this process. Now, when I'm finished with this, so I'm not going to, here's what typically will happen for people. And I'm going to attempt to hold all this up because it's quite a lot of stuff and there may be a lot of extra noise here going on. So if you're listening to audio podcasts or something, I'm sorry. Going to go ahead and apologize for that. But let's just look at here's what the typical process might look like for somebody. You might end up with a whole bunch of stuff. So, and this is just a handful of notebooks. I got tons more notebooks around here. And so like the thing is you end up with all these different notebooks and then you're like, oh, well, is it in this one? Is it this notebook where I took the note? Is it this one? Where's that note at? Right. And so that's the great thing. It's about simplifying and not having as much stuff to really have to work with. Not having to like have all these different notebooks, for example. You really only need one notebook if you just build a process. So let's say I'm finished with all these notebooks. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm not going to just have this whole stack of cards. As you can see all these cards. And let's see if I'm going to attempt to do this. Let's see if this works. So basically I'm going to go over to an iPad right now and we're going to see how this will work. So let's see. And bear with me, by the way, on this because there's a lot going on here. It's not as straightforward as you think. So I'm going to switch cameras. Let's see if that works. Okay, good. So there is an app and you're going to download this from your app store. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to buy the Rocketbook product, whether it's the Cloud Cards or the Fusion Notebook or the Panda Planner, any of those products. And they come with the cloth, they come with the pens, all that sort of stuff, right? But what we're going to do now that we're finished with our process, here's what we're going to basically do. I have the Rocketbook app loaded. Fantastic. And I'm going to click on New Scan. Let's go ahead and give it access. Let's see if this works. Okay. So now I'm going to let's just find card number 1 and let's see how this works. Okay. So we have a picture of my desk. Fantastic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put myself back on camera. I'm going to take card number 1. Okay. And if I want to digitize this, what I'm going to do, somebody just do this. I'm going to put it here on my desk. And as you can see, look at what it's doing. It's actually trying to pick up the card. And let's see. So I need to make sure, I select the right product here at the bottom. As you could see, I had it on Beacon, but I want to make sure I set it to Rocketbook. And look what it's doing. It's picking up literally the end of the card. Look at that. It scanned the first card. Okay, great. Now let's get that second card out. And I'm literally doing all this like one-handed. So there's card number 2. By the way, here's the cool thing about this. I don't have to do any of this. I literally am just picking up the cards and putting them down. So there's 3. I don't have to tell it what order. I'm going to grab card number 4, by the way. Same process. And I want to make sure that, again, I just got to give it the ability to catch all the edges. There's card number 4. We're going to grab card number 5. I'm going to grab card number 6 as well that we talked about. Now, as you can see that I've not really done anything with this. I'm done with all these cards. And here's what's cool. Let me do this. That was actually the wrong note there, but let me go back into my notes. So it scanned a bunch of cards. I got all the cards out of the way. Now we're going to hit next. And then here's what's really cool about this. So what you're going to see on screen is the fact that I can do whatever I want with these cards. And so in this case, I can email it. For example, I can email it to just myself. So I could say, okay, I want to send it to this destination. And let's say the second destination was a different place. For example, let's say it was, for example, like I think you can send them to Dropbox, Google Drive, Apple Messages, multiple email accounts, for example. All you got to do is just select where you want to send it and say next. And then what's going to happen? I'm going to just delete a couple of these items, actually. I'm going to delete all my unsent scans, actually. Let's rescan these, actually, because I'm going to just rescan them real quick. And look at this. This is cool. Look at how fast this is. So we're going to put it on Rocketbook here at the bottom. We're going to let it pick up all the cards. So we're going to do scan number 1. There's card number 1. We're going to put card number 2 down. We're going to put card number 3. And sorry, having to kind of watch this process again. Okay, there's card 3. We're going to scan card 4. As you can see, look how fast this is. I mean, literally, you just take notes, and it could be production notes. It could be anything you want. There's card 4. Here's card 5. I'm going to take the same shot. Let's do card number 6 real quick here as well. Cool. So we've done all these different cards, right? So I scanned all 6 cards. Now I'm going to hit next. And now at this point, I can decide what I want to do. Let's say I want to email it to 2 places, for example, or 2 people like myself and NLTMW here who's watching live. And now what I can do is I can tap on this and I can say, we could call this like my show is called Launch Your Live, right? So this is Launch Your Live. Like I could set up some sort of naming convention here, and then we could say something to the effect of, let's say it's Launch Your Live, and this would be, let's just say this is our run of show. Okay. And we can add tags, anything we want, and we just hit save. And then what it's going to do at that point, when I hit send, is it's going to actually then send all of these to me. And now what's cool about it is that all these are digitized. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just back out all this. I'm going to back all the way out. And I want to actually open these because I want to show you what these cards look like. I mean, look at this. Granted, this is a white background on top of a white background, but this is literally what was taken. So now I have every note that I have just taken. They're on cards, by the way, and I have all these different cards. And now I have my show pretty much outlined, right? And what's cool about it is that once these cards are now scanned, here's where this gets really fun and interesting. So instead of you just taking all these cards, instead of like having to buy more cards, here's how I clean these. Okay, watch this. So I'm gonna I'm gonna show you these so you can see all these, and then just so you know that I'm actually gonna erase these. I'm not just gonna grab a new stack, but basically, as you can see, I got all these different cards and I got numbers on all of them: 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, etc. Right? Okay. So how do you go about erasing? And by the way, the pen quality is amazing on this. Let me see if I can give you all a better view of these because my camera's autofocusing. The pen quality is amazing. I was sloppily writing these. Okay. So pen quality, the scan, everything's great. So now here's what I'm going to do. Once I've done planning my show, I'm going to take this microfiber cloth they gave me. I'm just going to wet a little bit of it. I'm not going to wet it very much. It's not going to be like, oh, I'm going to dampen the card so much. Just going to dampen this a little bit. And then watch this. I'm literally just going to wipe all these cards off. And I'm going to partially wipe this one off so you can see it. So I'm literally erasing these cards once we've done them. So we've digitized them, and I'm literally just going to wipe to erase. So there's our first empty card. So that's card number 6. Here's card number 5. Let's do card number 4. So here's card number 4. We're going to erase this. And I'm literally just wiping it with the microfiber cloth. Card number 4, empty. Card number 3, also empty just now. Card number 2, also empty. And now what's great about it is that I will have a digital record of all these cards in email. In this case, and it's in email because I email it to myself, but you got to remember, you can send them to wherever. So for example, if you're working with somebody, if you're working with another producer, for example, and we'll get to that in a second, but let's say you're working with another producer or, you've got a partner you work with. Here's what these cards look like. Look at this. Super clean. Like they're clean. And then the other thing you got to remember about these cards, once you wipe these off, you got to give them about, let's say 10, 15 seconds to let them dry completely. before you write on them, but you don't have to then like get a whole bunch. You don't have to have like note cards on top of note cards. You got one stack of note cards that you have to work with. Pretty amazing, right? So that is a look at that's the Rocketbook cloud cards that I would use for kind of outlining my show. Okay. So that's outlining. Now let's talk. That's like run of show. Like let's outline, let's digitize that process. By the way, I have that. This works on iOS and Android, by the way. Keep this in mind as well. And it basically just makes it super easy to outline your live streams. So you don't have to you don't have to type any emails after any meetings or anything like that. Like once you've outlined what your run of show is going to be, you just simply have to scan the cards and then you can erase them and you're done. Okay. So now the other thing I want to talk about, let's talk about production meetings, things like that. Okay. So how else would you maybe use a Rocketbook for production meetings, right? And NLTMW, thank you for sharing all this great information. NLTMW saying, he's using, he sends his to Google Drive and Dropbox for double security, i.e. you might email and send to Google Drive and send to Dropbox. So you have 3 backups. He also says the camera quality is also better when you digitize them. And that's a very good point as well. A lot of times what we'll do is we might take a smartphone and take a picture, but what you're going to often end up with is you're not going to end up with a good quality scan because you have to get the angle right or things like that. This literally just digitizes. It does a fantastic job. Okay. So now let's talk about meetings. So if you're somebody who, you go to meetings, let's say you go to physical meetings. What you may want to do is, you may want to carry another notebook with you. And again, as you can see, I might have 4 items, but that's it. I don't have 4 of this and 4 of these and, a whole stack of other notebooks, right? What I have is literally one notebook that I'm constantly using. So let's say you're going to a production meeting. Okay. So this is a look at, this is another Rocketbook. This is their smaller notebook. You've probably seen these. I mean, you've probably seen these kind of notebooks before, right? And so this is their smaller version. It's got a nice plastic cover on it. The pages are high quality and it's the same process. So what I'm going to do is, let's just say, I'm going to use NLTMW as an example. NLTMW, let's say you and I were doing a live stream. I'm going to open this and we're going to draw on this. Let's say NLTMW and I were on a live stream. By the way, this is the pen that comes with this smaller notebook. This is again a Pilot Friction. This is a black pen. So let's say NLTMW and I are doing a production meeting, and let's say we're talking about like a new design for an overlay or something we want to do, right? So what I may do is I may go in this Rocketbook and I may be taking notes, and we could say something like, let's say we're going to call these overlay ideas, right? So like, let's say NLTMW and I are over there talking about like ideas, right? And we might say we need to make, an intro, a technical difficulties overlay. And then let's say we need to make an outro and a hold screen. Okay. So I've just made some notes while we're talking. So here's my notes: overlay ideas, intro, technical difficulties, outro, hold screen. Now let's say we want to come up with just a rough idea for planning out our live streams. And let's say I'm just going to draw a sample, by the way. I'm only going to draw one of these. And let's say, and I'm going to actually mimic my, actual live stream graphic. So for example, this, let's just say this was what we decided on, right? And I might do something like this. And I might say, just make some notes, person. We might have the title. Logo, and then we might have the host or something like that. Okay. So let's say this is what our graphic is supposed to look like. By the way, if you're watching, just go to launcher.live/EP122 if you want to check out what we're talking about. So as you can see here, we talked about, okay, so we made our notes at the top. Here's all our notes. And then we drew out this, and sorry, it's a white page, so it's picking up, it's not focusing as well. So we drew out the overlay that we wanted right here. So let's say we're finished with this, and I'm like, you know what? Here's the great thing. If we're planning out the live streams or we're having a production meeting, both people don't need to take notes. You just need one note taker. And so at this point, let's say I'm finished with this. I'm going to do the same thing I just did a minute ago. And I'm going to delete all these scans, by the way. So let me just delete all of these. Okay, so just give me a second because I have a few scans to delete, but we'll basically walk through the same exact process we did earlier. So I'm going to switch back to my camera, and I'm going to put this notebook. I'm just going to literally position this right underneath my iPad. And now let's say I'm ready to let's say we finish the meeting. I'm like, NLTMW, I'm going to send you the notes. Don't worry. Look at how clear this is, by the way. These are what the notes look like. So let's say I'm finished and I'm going to make sure I'm on the Rocketbook option. Look at that. It's literally going to detect the edges, right? So let me just tap into the middle of the screen. Let me move closer. Sorry, by the way, I'm trying to do all this at the same time as talking to you all. And look at that. It automatically scanned that. And then if I wanted to review it, all I got to do is tap on the icon and here's my notes. Now, what's also really cool about this is everything that has been written here, it is searchable. So the word logo, like if you have really bad handwriting, obviously you can't figure that out. But if you write the word logo, for example, and it's all in high quality, you'll have the ability to go in and you'll have the ability to search for those specific things. So if I'm finished with this, I'm going to move the notebook out of the way. I then would just hit next here. And what I could do is, and if I need to turn the flash on, for example, there's a flash option here at the top as well. But if I'm done, I could say next, and then I'd select whatever the destination is that I want to send it to and just do next, next, next and send it. So I'm going to just discard this one, by the way. So that's another type of notebook that I might use in terms of planning out my live stream. So I'm going to use that kind of notebook maybe for, us having an actual production meeting. Now, the other thing I want to also show you, and I'll get to this in a second, actually, let me go and do it now. So in addition to using a notebook for like planning out overlays, like what kind of overlays do you need for your live streams? Like, yeah, you can make cards of those, but you also can just do it that way, right? This is a very pocketable notebook you can just take with you. So the other thing I want to make sure I also show you is this. So if we go back to this destination section, on the bottom of this app, if you tap on, like, for example, email, you'll have the ability to actually set up how each destination functions. So for example, you can select what type. In this case, I'm sending a PDF. I can change the recipient by just clicking on recipient, and I can add, look at this, I can add multiple emails, or I can delete one of them. I can also go in and change the destination. So if I want to if I want to send this to Google Drive or Evernote or Dropbox or OneNote or Trello or Slack or Box or iCloud or iMessages or email or any of that stuff, we're going to cancel that real quick. Basically, I just simply change that destination. And so the great thing is, then I just tap on those as I'm getting ready to send them. The other thing you can also do, you can do bundle scan. So a bundle scan would be like you saw a minute ago, I had multiple cards to scan. I would just turn this bundle scan on or off. So it just keeps scanning as the cards are there. You can also set it to auto scan. You can do OCR transcription in this case to allow it to read your text. I'm going to leave that off for now. You can add smart tags and smart subject lines based off what it sees on the cards. Pretty cool, right? So that's a second thing I might use to plan out my live streams, to make it easier to plan out my live streams. And again, the cool thing about all this is that you could use these notebooks for so many things. Like you can use them for planning out like what kind of overlays you need, actually drawing them out and sending them to people. So now when we're finished, let's say we're finished with this, I'm going to take that same microfiber cloth, still damp, and I'm just going to wipe this off. So we've digitized this, and look at this. I'm just going to do a quick wipe. We're going to wipe this down. There you go. Done. Look at that. Pretty neat. So that's a second way that you can use Rocketbook for planning out your live streams, is to, just have a small notebook that you carry with you. And this is for live stream, but you could also use this for like, we'll talk about that in a second, but you can use a small notebook for just simple production meetings. They also have, I'm going to just, there's plenty of other options here from Rocketbook. Like they have another one. They have one called the Panda Planner. And I'm going to put this one up. If you go to, there's a Panda Planner. I got that one up. And by the way, these come in all sorts of colors, by the way. So just don't think that like, oh, I got to get the burgundy one. There's, pretty much every kind of color you can think of. So they have the Panda Planner. The Panda Planner is basically a smaller form of their notebook. So if I compare this to their larger notebooks, for example, this is the larger one, and I compare the Panda Planner, look at that. Much, much, much smaller. And then here's there you go. So we got basically three really nice, small, compact notebooks. So the Panda Planner, is interesting because Panda Planner basically is, for example, if you're a live stream producer, I'm going to throw this out there. This is a super useful thing. One of the cool options is in the Panda Planner in the front, they have events and dates and everything is broken down by month. Pretty cool, right? And then in addition to that, so there's pages for every single day of the month. So if you're somebody who, like, if you're planning a live stream and you've got your own show, you'd put them down in this Panda Planner. There's also a couple of things in here as well that you can mark down for, like, for example, the other goal of the Panda Planner is, like, let's say you want to target some metrics. There's a cool metrics feature in here where you can just write down what you think your metrics would like to be. For example, if you want to get more people watching your live streams, you've got a metrics option. If there's other things you want to improve, for example, personal development, things like that, there's also that in the Panda Planner. If you've got certain priorities or certain routines that you need to do for your live streams, you can put that in there, or just personal things. And then they also have in the back smaller versions of their pages. Pretty neat, right? So let's just throw this out. Let's just say, I'm going to give you another scenario. So let's say you're planning out a live stream, and again, you get the same product. You get the Rocketbook, you get the microfiber cloth. They have different sizes, and you get a friction pilot friction erasable pen. You have to use these, by the way, otherwise it won't erase. So let's say we're going to plan out, like, it's what, April, right? So let's say we're going to plan out the month of April, and we'll do April. I'm going to just write down April events. Okay. And then let's say we know that on, let's just say on 4/2, we have event number 1. Let's say we have another event on 4/15. And then let's say there's another one on 4/22. Okay. So let's say we're like, let's say we're having a nice, let's say NLTMW and I are having a nice meeting, right? And we're talking and we're like, hey, you know what? We've got these upcoming events we want to do, or work with Freedom Patreon Network here. And we've written down our events, as you can see here, right? We're going to go through the same process that we did like the previous options, but here's what's different when you use these bigger notebooks. I don't know if you can see. Let's see if I can get these to show up on the bottom. So along the bottom of these, on this particular, on the larger pages of the Rocketbook, let's see if I can get that to show up. It's very hard because it's white on white, but basically along the bottom, there are the same icons that we had. So I'm going to pull this back up. So all these little icons, the Rocketbook icon, the diamond, the apple, the bell, the shamrock, the star, the horseshoe, right? All of these are actually listed on the bottom of these pages. And so let's say I'm like, and let's set these destinations up. So let's say the Rocketbook icon was set to email to me. Let's say the diamond was set to email to NLTMW, who's watching us live on YouTube. And then let's say Shamrock is Google Drive. And let's say the horseshoe is Apple Messages. Whatever the icon is, you've set as the destination. All I have to do is this. Along the bottom, I've simply just marked an X over the item. And now here's what's cool. I'm going to go, and we're going to go back to the Rocketbook, the app. So I've got this ready. I'm going to put this down here on my desk. And then I'm going to make sure I hold this far enough away, obviously. So, and let's see if you can, you can't really see that, but as you can see, it's picking up the page. And now it has scanned the page, right? So there's the events that we've scanned. And now if we go back and we say, let's do next, we're going to give this a title. Let's just say these are April events. Okay, we're going to hit done. And now this already knows what destinations we want to send it to because we've already done that. So I'm going to let me hit next. So it knows what destinations based off of what I checked along the bottom. And I can add tags. For example, if I want to, I can just tap on this new tag option and just add a tag. Let's just say it's events. Great. We've added a tag. And then if we hit send, if all these destinations were connected, what it's basically going to do is it's going to send this note to all of those connected destinations. Pretty neat, huh? So that's another way I might use some of these products. In this case, this is a smaller notebook. So I'm not going to, it's like I might write out what what the flow of my show is, but I feel like those are best suited when you're using something like this, the cloud cards that they have, the individual note cards, right? So let's say we've digitized this. Let's say we're finished. I'm going to just do, again, same process. Just going to erase. And by the way, I want to make sure we highlight a comment that we got from NLTMW, which is that auto recognition scanning in the app is amazing because it's super fast. It's super quick. I don't have to I was doing this one-handed while we're talking. I'm holding a notebook in one hand, iPad another, scanning. So I'm going to take the microfiber cloth, going to simply just wipe these down, and I'm not going to erase the whole thing for you. I'm going to show you, and that's why. I'm not going to erase the whole thing because, as you can see, I started erasing it, right? So I started erasing it. I didn't, I'll finish it right now. So basically now I can reuse this notebook for whatever I want to use it for. Again, I'm going to erase it. And then once I've erased it, then I'm going to let it dry for just a few seconds. And then now I'm going to have the ability, once I've done this, to go and reuse this notebook for whatever I need to. So I don't have to worry about, I almost would say it might make sense to actually set this up as a system. For example, you attend a meeting, or you're trying to plan out your live streams, put all this stuff down. And then your process would be, okay, I go to a meeting, I make notes in the notebook. So take these with you. And then once I've done that, my next step would be when I get home, let me digitize this. Or heck, if you're at an actual meeting, you can digitize these in seconds. That's how quick it is. It's quick and the quality is amazing. And then when I'm finished, I've got the notebook and now I can just take this. As you can see, it's not super thick because you don't need a ton of pages. So that's another way you could do your live stream production there to help you kind of plan out your live stream, parts of your live stream process. And by the way, I want to also make sure we make a couple points here. So NLTMW says, hey, he keeps a pocket-sized Rocketbook. He has the orange one because his orange is his brand color, by the way, on the bedside of his table to scribble notes while he's half asleep. Absolutely. There's no sense in you could have multiple notebooks, but you don't have to have multiple notebooks that can't be reused. So that is an option. Now, the other thing you could also do, let's say you're actually going to, you're going to, again, to a meeting. You don't have to take all these different notebooks with you. You just take one or two. Or let's say you're somebody who's creative, and you like to draw all the time, for example, or let's say you want to draw out some merch or something like that for your business, right? That's where you could get this. This is the Rocketbook Fusion. And this is their larger notebook. And these come in multiple sizes. But this is the Rocketbook Fusion notebook. And it's, again, a smart reusable notebook. Let's say let's do this. Let's say you want to make an equipment list, for example. I'm going to just draw out a couple of things here. So let's say we're going to talk about that equipment we talked about earlier, right? So let's put down some notes. Let's say equipment to buy, right? So we're going to write down some equipment to buy. And then we need to get what? We need to get the Shure SM7B microphone. We need to get a MacBook Air. And then let's say we need to get, let's say we need to get the Elgato Facecam, for example. And then let's say we need to also get a capture card, right? So here's what's really cool about this. I just made these notes. Same thing. So I just wrote up a really quick list. And then along the bottom, these notebooks have the same option along the bottom. Let's say I want to scan these. Let's say I want to send this to an email to myself and also to NLTMW. Because, hey, let's say we're both at the same meeting, right? Just going to check those options along the bottom, as you can see here. So I've checked my options here along the bottom. By the way, the marks are a lot stronger. It's just a white page. So let's say I've done that. Okay, so now let's do another thing. Let's say on that same token, let's say our friend Freedom Patriot Network is over there watching as well. Let's say he and I are let's say he's watching my live stream and I'm giving him tips. Because one of the things I always do on my live streams is I like to give you tips on things to do, right? And so I always tell people, get a notebook out. So let's do this. Let's just put tips, and then we'll do tips on live stream etiquette, okay? And then let's say I'm going to put the date. So today is April 1st. And now let's say he's taking some notes, right? and let's say he's taking notes about live stream etiquette. So one of those is going to be, just quick notes. Look at camera, not at screen. Okay. So that might be the first thing. NLTMW, what other questions, what are the things you think we might bring up, by the way? So look at camera. Let's see. Audio over video. Okay. So let's say that's an important point. By the way, there's a cool little feature here too. When you do this, like when you have one person taking notes, you can easily share these with other people. So you can network and make friends with some people and share this. So let's see. Look at the camera, not at the screen. Audio over video is always important. Let's say stick to a time limit. For example, 1 hour. Okay. And then let's say another point we gave him was repurpose. Okay, so let's say we're finished with this note as well. Again, there's my notes. So as we're maybe doing a live stream, you've got a notebook out and you're taking notes. Okay, so now let's say, to obviously improve your live stream productions, you now have all these tips, right? And you've dated it and things like that. So then let's say we're finished. I'm going to do the same process I just did. But let's say, let me use the example. Let's say this was set up to email to myself. So I'm going to check that box. Let's say it's also set up to, let's say I wanted to send this to NLTMW. I'm going to check a box there. Let's say I wanted to make something easy for all my other people who are watching my live streams. That's something like, hey, for those of you who didn't get a chance to watch, I took notes for you, or somebody else took notes. We could send this to, let's say it was Google Drive, a public Google Drive folder or something, right? So now I have checked all these boxes on the bottom. I've got my notes up here at the top. And then now let's say we're ready to go with this, right? So let's say we're finished with this and we want to scan this page. Now this is a bigger page, much harder to scan probably, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back again into the Rocketbook app. And just let me delete this past note we just did. I'm going to take this notebook. We're going to put it right underneath my camera. I'm going to do this and look at this. So here's the page. Look at that. I'm going to hold it. You probably might have heard that shutter click that happened. So it scanned the page. We're going to go back into the actual note and look at this. So let's see. Let me go back to the page. Let's see. Let me actually exit out of the camera itself. Let's do that scan again, actually. I think it might have disconnected. Let's see. Yeah, I think the camera disconnected, actually. But so that note is finished, and now I have it digitized, and it goes through the same process. So basically now what you've learned is yet another way you can use these reusable notebooks to also make it easier to go about sharing your notes with people. So in this case, like I've got, it's a production meeting, or in this case, I was watching someone's live stream and I took some notes and I said, hey, you know what? I want to share that with people, or I want to make things available to my community. I can easily do that. So you got lots of options here. The great thing is that they can all help you with your production. And then the cool thing about it is when you're finished, you digitize them and you can either repurpose them by putting some of these notes, making them available to your other viewers. For example, like you put them in a Google Drive folder or a Dropbox folder, one of those folders where you can go about, building an archive, right? Or you can encourage your viewers, if you want them to if you want to help them grow, you can help them along the way as well in doing this. And then when I'm finished, I'm just going to, again, I'm going to take my, my microfiber cloth. I'm just going to simply slightly dampen. It doesn't have to be super wet. And then I'm going to simply just wipe this page down. Let's say I sent all these notes. By the way, NLTMW, you're not getting any notes. Sorry. I hope you took your own. I'm going to wipe down my notebook. Let me see if I can show you this. So it's still a little bit wet. Yeah, you can kind of see the sheen here. So it's still a little bit wet. I want to, that's again why you don't have to dampen this that much. I dampened it too much, actually. And so what you're going to do is you're going to simply wipe down the page and then just let it dry. And now you have a reusable notebook. And the great thing is you don't have to have multiple notebooks. You got literally one notebook that you need to carry around with you. So, do you have any questions on this? Any other questions on the Rocketbook? For example, I mean, it's an amazing, like all of these products are absolutely amazing. Let me put the last link here. So I put the cloud cards in. I think I did the Rocketbook Fusion. I did the beacons. Yeah, this is here's more on Rocketbook Fusion. And I mean, Rocketbook was super nice to send me all these notebooks actually. And for those of you who don't know, I mentioned this earlier. I've been using their notebooks for a long time. This is their Wave notebook, and and this was actually like physical paper that you had to microwave. This is one of their first versions of their notebooks, and this one, for example, you had to actually microwave in order to reuse the page. But the new ones, you just simply wipe them down using the microfiber cloth and making sure you write with one of the friction pens. And they come in lots of different colors, the pens. There's the black ones, blue ones, different thicknesses. NLTMW says there's also a highlighter style pen as well to show some notes and things like that. I'll have to actually see if I can get some of those. But pretty amazing stuff, by the way. There's so much stuff. And so just kind of to wrap things up, I mean, we talked today about, as I mentioned, we talked about ways to help you plan your live streams better. And, it's going to start with this. It's going to start with outlining what it is you want to get out of your live streams. It's easy to say, you know what? Oh, it's easy. I'm going to wing it. But I will tell you, I mean, I've done hundreds of shows, hundreds, maybe, I don't know, NLTMW, have I done hundreds or is it 1,000? I'm not sure. I mean, I've got a ton of shows under my belt. And the piece of advice I can give you is you want to outline your process. That's how I got started. I started with cards. That's exactly how I started. I started with cards. I basically then wrote out what I wanted my show flow to look like so that I could visualize it and understand it. And then I tested it and I made sure that I knew how it worked. Once I got finished with that, I don't have to use the cards as much, but I still use them for different things. For example, if I'm going to give a presentation, or let's say I need to make notes for this episode, instead of having them on a separate document, I might have a set of notes next to me, right? I might also I'm going to keep a smaller notebook next to me as well, or maybe next to my bed, for example, so that if I'm going about doing a live stream production and I'm like, you know what, like I might have a constantly running list of equipment. And I'm always going to be jotting down what that equipment might be. And I don't have to have this huge stack of notebooks and sift through the notebooks. I have one notebook I work with. Very simple. And then as I mentioned, if you go to any sort of production meetings, we want to make sure we're always take notes. And that's where I would use the bigger notebook in this case for taking those notes, or maybe drawing out concepts, things like we talk about, because there's no sense in like talking about it and then not taking action on it. It's all about you taking action. So I hope you have enjoyed this episode where we've talked about some tips to help you improve your live streams, to make them easier, to make your broadcast easier for you to follow. I mean, I'm doing this by myself. I'll tell you right now, I didn't actually plan much of this out. I planned it out, but not all of it. And so I kind of just winged a lot of it. I knew what I wanted to do, but again, you want to make sure you outline your process. I knew exactly, for example, I had the notebooks here, I had the app, I had all that set up. But in terms of like showing you examples, things like that, I knew kind of what I wanted to talk about with you. And I just want to show you in real time. So that's a look at how you can better organize your live streams. I mean, and this could be things like, you could have a page where you talk about, what are some how does your live stream, what's the process? You could have ones for equipment. You can have ones for, maybe things you need to improve. Like keep the smaller notebook next to your desk so that as you're doing your live streams, and let's say at the end, you take 5 minutes and you make some notes. What happened, for example? Let's say you had a bunch of let's say you're like, hey, you know what? I need a moderator. Say you notice you need a moderator. Make a note. You got finished with your live stream. Hey, let's say you want to make a note because somebody asked a good question. Put it in the notebook and then digitize it so that as you are building your live streams, you can continue to look back at all the notes that you've taken and learn from them so that as you move forward with your live streams, you are doing a much better job at improving them. Again, it's all about taking action. But hope you've enjoyed this episode. We talked about ways to improve your live stream production, how you can use Rocketbook products to do that. I want to thank Rocketbook as well for all of the fantastic products. But with that, we'll see you on a future episode. Remember, this is episode 122 of the Launch Your Live show. In this episode, we have talked about um, ways to help you plan your live streams for success. Lots of different tips there. If you found them helpful, do us a favor, just let us know. We also will put all the show notes and everything like that as well in this. If you are listening to this, you can go to launcher.live/EP122 and check out the actual episode where I'm demoing all of this. You can also check out all of the products as well. Again, the description has links to all of that. But with that, I want to thank you for tuning in to episode 122 of the Launch Your Live show. And I hope to see you on a future episode. Thanks a lot, everyone. And have a great, I think this is the weekend, right? So have a great weekend. Bye.